Welcome to Fast Tracking the Day of God, a podcast for those that think we should stop delaying the eternal blessings our Creator has for His children. For those that yearn for the day when evil, pain, and suffering will disappear for good. If you don't care about speeding Jesus' return, this podcast might not be your cup of tea. However, if you want to revive your interest in preparing yourself for the day when eternity materializes, this presentation is for you. When one sets aside the Word of God, this life is just being part of the food chain. You live, you struggle to survive, and you die. That's a pretty hopeless perspective. Nothing even remotely related to what God planned for us. But when we read the Bible, we discover an amazing reality. We were created for eternal joy and happiness, what we read in Genesis 1 and 2. Also, by reading the Holy Scriptures, we discover that despite our current reality of pain and suffering, the Almighty will ultimately restore the world to His original plan. Indeed, the God of the Bible actively participates in history. Having previously discussed God's role in the rise of nations, we will now explore the future that awaits our world. God's instruction to Adam not to consume certain fruit was not a mere order demanding human obedience. Just as we read in Proverbs 8 verse 29 that God commanded creation, it implies a designed arrangement, in essence, a gift from God upon humanity, Exodus 24:12, Nehemiah 9 verse 13. This gift serves man's well-being and existence, hence the declaration, "He shall live by them," Leviticus 18 verse 5. Consequently, the psalmist petitions, "Give me the grace of your Torah," Psalms 119:29. Notably, even the inaugural instruction or commandment commences with grace, the provision of all but one tree. Of every tree, you may freely eat, Genesis 2 verse 16. In Genesis 2 verse 9, refer to previous discussions for more context. Adam and Eve were instructed about these particular trees in the middle of the garden. The tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They could eat of any tree, except from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If they eat from this tree, dying they will die. There is knowledge one is better off not acquiring through experience, such as the trauma of a car accident or a fire. Fundamentally, our caring Creator requested Adam and Eve to trust His word. In Daniel 2, God presented a reliable vision of the future, from the prophet's time to the end of days. God is the only source of truth, life, and happiness. His kingdom operates based on love and trust. Departing, disconnecting from God, even in our minds, ultimately produces pain, suffering, and death. In the same chapter, we read how human powers will be ultimately wiped out. History shows how even when technology and intellectual knowledge improve, our understanding of what is right and wrong decreases by the minute. Nebuchadnezzar, a pagan king, received the vision of Daniel 2, which employed an idol to capture his interest. Daniel 7 presents a corresponding vision to the prophet, yet it utilizes imagery familiar to a Bible-reading Jew. Winds stirring the sea, creatures reminiscent of Genesis 1 emerging from the waters, and even the figure of a son of man. Human history is marked by a cyclical pattern of suffering. Tyranny leads to rebellion, which devolves into anarchy until a liberator emerges, only to become another oppressor, perpetuating a seemingly endless repetition of misfortune. Just as the four beasts in Daniel 7, symbolizing Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, emerged from the sea, so too does the ten-horned, seven-headed beast of Revelation 13 verse 1 through 8 arise from the sea. Furthermore, as seen in verse 11, the lamb-like beast eventually transforms to wield the full authority of the first beast in verse 1. Throughout history, certain traits have persisted from Babylon to the little horn, notably defiance against the Creator God and the use of coercion. Revelation 10 verse 7 indicates that the mystery of God, identified as the eternal gospel, which affirms God's true nature against the claims of His adversaries, will be proclaimed before the seventh angel sounds his trumpet. The Greek word used here is euangelizen, the root word of evangelize. This proclamation, the text says, aligns with what God declared to His servants, the prophets. Further in the same chapter, verses 8 to 10 describe John eating a small scroll and being instructed to prophesy again. While we won't delve into those details here, the key takeaway is that prophecy, meaning to speak for God, is a crucial task before Jesus' return. In a sense, prophecy in this passage is a synonym of sharing the gospel. Consequently, God's people in the end times have a singular mission: to communicate God's love to the world. We don't produce these videos just for instruction. We need others to join us in proclaiming the gospel. In the end, we know that the longer we delay Jesus' return, the more we all are going to suffer. We know how this ends. We have the opportunity to be part of the solution. The purifying fire on earth will be a consuming fire for those who have persistently rejected God's calls to return to Him. The Bible portrays God's sorrow and disappointment at having to give up His children who choose to believe Satan's deceptions as His wrath. God sent numerous messengers to repeatedly warn them that true life, truth, and joy cannot be found apart from Him. Their choice of destruction brings great sadness to God. Join us. Send us an email at indestructiblekindness@gmail.com. Sharing God's love with the world is part of our restoration process. We cannot skip that part.